The candidates are in their last chance saloon of campaigning in the US presidential election. Both candidates know this is the final curtain, if you like, to persuade the undecided Kamala Harris, spending the day in Pennsylvania, the state that has 19 electoral votes. That state will be decisive. She's attending rallies at Scranton, Allentown, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. And there she'll be joined by star supporters such as Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, Ricky Martin, The Roots and Oprah Winfrey. Donald Trump, meanwhile, will attend a rally at the aptly named Rally in North Carolina, then 2 events in Pennsylvania, and then a final rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The 47 states that have early voting options have, of course, been exercising those. It means that more than 75 million Americans have already cast their vote. Here at France 24, Eliza Herbert examines what this could mean for the election.
Early voting centres are teeming across the United States, but despite the long queues, the spirit of democracy remains high.
We've been here for 2.5 hours and the mood is still great. We are almost there. We're in the home stretch.
We got in line around 2 p.m. and now it's 6 p.m. Eastern time and we did it. And I'm proud that, we added our voice.
With the polls neck and neck, Americans appear anxious to make their votes count. Already more than 75 million people have cast early ballots, particularly in crucial battleground states. Records have been broken in Georgia and North Carolina, with some 4 million and 4.5 million votes cast respectively. In Michigan, nearly 3 million people have already voted, and in Arizona, 2.3 million. Wisconsin and Nevada have also returned high numbers. So far, statistics show that women have voted more than men, and there has been a larger portion of rural voters showing up early. But it is still not quite clear which party will benefit. 4 years ago, in 2020, a record-breaking 70% of the overall turnout voted early, either by mail or in person. Democrats were urged to vote by mail to avoid the spread of COVID-19, and ultimately the party gained votes in the counties that returned more mail ballots. Scenes of chaos then unfolded after Donald Trump doubled down on unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud and refused to accept the election result. A scenario this expert worries could be repeated.
The more voting at a distance or voting early, voting sort of out of the regular schedule there is, the more challenges there are going to be. If everything happens on the same day, it's harder for the loser, I think, to complain because everybody's following the same rules on the same day, and depending on which state they're in.
Both presidential candidates, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, have encouraged early voting this election.
Eliza Herbert there. Let's bring in Fraser Jackson, our correspondent in Washington, watching all developments for us. He joins us, I'm going to guess, at his usual location near the White House or somewhere White House adjacent. There he is. That smile, I wouldn't forget it anywhere. Great to see you, sir. Personal question, guess. Are you okay? You've had a very tough few weeks, haven't you? A great story, but it's been quite tiring, I imagine.
Yeah, it's been an election unlike any other. This, of course, is my first U.S. election covering it as a correspondent, but it somewhat soothes the nerves and the anxiety when you talk to some of my colleagues who've been doing this for decades. Some of them, one of my colleagues from Reuters, this is his 6th president, and even he says that he's not seen anything like this. So it does calm the nerves slightly that way.
It is a remarkable contest, this one, isn't it? The Iowa poll. Let's start with that. The Iowa poll gave Kamala Harris a lead over Trump in what is usually a strongly Republican state. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Iowa hasn't actually voted for a Democrat since Barack Obama in 2012. It is kind of seen as a bit of a Republican stronghold, and it was deemed that way. And this poll we knew was coming, but wasn't really expected to throw up anything surprising. And then we got it as it dropped over the weekend that Kamala Harris was 3 points ahead of Donald Trump in this poll, which I must say is inside the margin of error. But this poll is seen as the gold standard of polls in Iowa. The team that do it have a very rigorous methodology and have been doing this since the mid-90s and are very, very rarely wrong. So it kind of came as a bit of a bolt out of the blue. The reason for that really is because of the older section of the population, especially older women, over 65s in Iowa, and especially women, went for Kamala Harris by over 2 to 1. It was 63% to 28% who went for Donald Trump. So there was a massive change there that we we were not really expecting, and consider the fact that this took place without any of the Democrats or really the Republicans spending any money in Iowa, because it was seen as a sure thing almost that the candidates had not spent any money within this state. So this was effectively a kind of grassroots change and a natural change over the course of the last few weeks. One of the main reasons for that, we believe, is because in the summer, Iowa had a 6-week abortion ban that came into effect, and we think it's taken some time to filter down into the popular opinion that actually, obviously, a lot of women don't even realize that they're pregnant by the time they get to 6 weeks. So this abortion ban has become deeply unpopular, especially with the older generation of women who want to protect the rights of women for the future generations, for their daughters and their granddaughters as well. So a really interesting poll that the Democrats are heralding, but are, cautiously, they say, nauseously optimistic, and the Republicans are, pushing back, saying that this poll was unfairly weighted towards the Democrats.
Indeed, the swing states, all 7 of them, aren't really showing either candidate sort of anywhere outside of the margin of error that you talk about, Fraser. So it is, at this stage, as the phrase goes, too close to call. We're seeing both candidates, as we would expect, in the swing states in this final day of campaigning. Harris choosing to stay in Pennsylvania, Trump going on a kind of mini tour, North Carolina, Penn State and Michigan.
Yeah, and of course the polls national polls, I should say, have Harris with a slight lead over Donald Trump. But of course, this is not a popular vote election. It comes down to who wins the individual states, and those 7 battleground states are being seen as the key to this election, of course. So that is why the candidates are spending all their time focusing on those states. So Donald Trump had a bit of a travel journey today, where he started in North Carolina with a crowd that must be said looked much thinner than what we've seen from Donald Trump rallies in the past. He then headed to Pennsylvania, where he's holding a couple of rallies before he ultimately ends in Grand Rapids, Michigan at the end of the evening. And that, notably, is where he finished his campaign in 2016 and 2020. Donald Trump, somewhat of a superstitious person, believes that that's the place to finish his campaign. Well, Kamala Harris is choosing to spend her entire day within Pennsylvania. She's had 5 events going on in Pennsylvania. Of course, those 19 electoral college votes that Pennsylvania has are widely seen as the key to this election for either candidate. So she's spending most of her time there. She'll be live streaming a series of events across the battlegrounds, joined by some star power, including Lady Gaga and Katy Perry. Some critics, I must say, have said that that is a bit of a repeat of 2016, when Hillary Clinton did a very similar thing, and that didn't go down well with the people in rural parts of Pennsylvania. So we'll see whether that impacts people's votes tomorrow on Election Day.
Fraser Jackson on the last day of campaigning, looking as fresh as you did on day one. Great to see you, sir. Looking forward to hearing from you, of course, on November the 5th, tomorrow, voting day. But of course, many people have voted early, as we heard earlier on. Over 70 million Americans have already cast their votes, so we are following everything for you. And please make a note, our special coverage starts at 7 p.m, 1900 hours Paris time, and we'll be with it until the results are known and confirmed. A long night indeed is in store, and we're in place in Paris, across the US and around the globe to cover all the angles for you. Time to have a truth or fake.